840, that's Evergreen, Into the Light. Good morning, KUAM TV. Welcome to the link. We'll get to your comments. Remember, we have a phone here, too, 637-0094. It's 840 in the KUAM News Zoom room. The Guam Department of Education Superintendent, Jon Fernandez. Good morning, John.
Hi, good morning, Chris, Sabrina, Jason, and hope hope your hub day is going okay this week. We're again, we were glad to talk last week to let you know how things had reversed themselves after months and months of planning and preparing for the school year. So that disappointment of the closing of schools has not gone away yet, but I hope all of you enjoyed. Well, we didn't even have a Labor Day, a picnic or anything to go to. So, but for what it is, I hope everyone's doing well on your end. Again, like I said, we're still disappointed about where we are, having had our kids back for a short time and really enjoyed having them back. This week, we've completely switched over to online learning for all students. So the first day was Tuesday, and I think for the most part, we're just monitoring how things are going this week, making sure we tackle any issues or glitches that come up. We still do have, I think for the most part, things were relatively smooth given the entire switch over that had to happen. We did get some concerns from certain schools about internet access kind of going up and down during certain parts of the day. We still are receiving some inquiries from families who have not yet reached out to borrow to get a laptop. So there are some loose ends that we continue to tie up. But we've asked our schools and our teachers to be flexible, this week as we, get everybody online. So my two kids, of course, public school students also were online. So,
are they talking to you now?
Yeah, no, it's still the same stink eye that, I'm going online, Dad. Please don't bother me. I'm going to be online today.
John, before we get any further down the road, I did want to just break in right away and just ask the question I think a lot of people are wondering about is when the governor's executive order came out, it was called, and I believe the language is also in the EO, a temporary suspension of face-to-face learning for grades K through 12. So do we have a read on pre-K through 12? Do we have a read on like how long this temporary suspension is? Because it kind of seems just from the posture that this is going to be the situation next week too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always important to talk about the formal and informal deadlines. The executive order itself is indefinite, and so I just remind our stakeholders when we talk about the governor's executive order that technically speaking there isn't an end date. So you can't go back and say, well, the executive order said it's going to be 2 weeks. Now, I think the intention, based on what the governor and I have discussed, is hoping that within 2 to 3 weeks we would be back in a position where we would be able to possibly reopen schools. Now, again, that's all going to be dependent on things that are outside of my control, which, again, looking at the numbers, at the hospitalization numbers, all of those things that we all track together on a daily basis. What you're looking for is a peak, and you're looking for then the numbers to start coming down to give you at least some hope that you can get back to planning for a reopening. And that doesn't look like we're there yet. And so, like I said, we hope it's 2 to 3 weeks at the most, but we also have to be prepared for the reality that it could go longer depending on the progress of the community overall.
So that's what we're doing next week, parents. Situation, it looks like it's going to hold, right?
Yeah, I would anticipate at least another week. And again, what we're looking for is that as you look at the numbers going up and you see the numbers of new cases and hospitalizations, you're hoping to hit a high number and then see it come down, and not just come down one day, because that might happen over for one day, but you're looking at 2, 3, 5 days where the numbers start to come down and give you an indication that the shutdown of schools and the other restrictions are having an effect. If they don't, then I think that's really where the governor is going to have to think about what other measures are necessary. But that's the challenge here. The challenge is that there's like a 2 to 3 week lag between when you put your restrictions in and then seeing when the cases will start to decline.
Right.
The good news is DOE will not be having any cases to report as of today. It's been more than 10 days since since kids have been in school.
Yeah.
And so we're going to put something out more publicly just to clarify. We typically report students who have been on campus, but now that we're past the 10-day period where there's not going to we still get parents reporting, hey, our student was tested positive, but because it's been over 10 days, it's very likely that they haven't, it wasn't while they were on campus. No contact tracing is required based on those guidelines. So, again, we're going to probably be reverting back to where we were over the summer, not the summer, but when we were back in shutdown, where there were nobody on campus to report. So the thing about it is that doesn't mean that kids aren't getting it. But the point we were making before is that we don't believe they're getting it at school, but they may still be getting it out in the community. So we're hoping to continue to get information from public health about the impact of this variant on kids specifically, so that as we plan for reopening, we can factor that into our preparation. But we will still be reporting, employees, because our employees are still reporting to campus. So we just want to, have that information out there so people who may have been on campus can be aware and also take measures to ensure that they are protecting themselves as well.
How are we doing on the laptop distribution?
Yeah, like I said, we have been mobilizing laptops to be distributed to families. Right now, we're more along on the stage of troubleshooting. So we do have a hotline, that we put out there, the info@gdoe.net. So we still get we get emails, we do get phone calls at the office, and we track those to try to make sure we resolve those issues. So over the past couple of days, it's almost as if there were some families that say maybe we're really not going to go online, but on Tuesday they said, well, you know what, we better reach out and get that laptop because it's really going to happen. Because we did get some calls from families who said, hey, we need to apply for the laptops. How do we do that? And so we connect them to their school to make sure we take care of those requests. So those are still coming in, despite the earlier efforts to get the information out and distribute laptops to those who are interested. So that's something we'll just continue to work on a case-by-case basis. But we should have enough. We should have enough laptops at this point based on the number of requests that we've received so far.
For parents though that weren't able to get a laptop for their child when school distance learning started yesterday, are they counted as absent?
Well, we are counting absences from the standpoint of making sure that we record that for our purposes, right? We want to make sure we know who was in attendance, who wasn't, and if there are students who are struggling with attendance, our effort is going to be to work out with the families, like what are those issues that we need to be aware of so that we can try to assist, right? I mean, we just want to make sure that we understand the underlying situation. The executive order kind of helped us out there because it basically overrode the habitual truancy requirements that are in the law. So when you record these absences, the consequences as you accumulate more absences, now you become potentially a truancy case. So that has been suspended by the executive order. So when we do record absences, it's really for our own informational purposes to know who did or did not show up for their class. And if we see a pattern, it's not going to be, we're not sending the truancy officers out to adjudicate them. It's really a matter of, social workers reaching out and saying, hey, you know what, we noticed you're enrolled, you were signed up to attend, is there any issue, or did you not apply for a laptop? What is it that's preventing your child from attending class?
And over the weekend, the virtual input session was held for the special education students and their parents. What was the outcome, and what is the plan for them?
Well, I haven't had a full debrief except the overall. I mean, I did because I wasn't able to attend that that meeting. But you know what was really good is we have we're kind of in transition with our acting superintendent, assistant superintendent for special education, and so we did have our acting leader of our special education division there, Tom Babauta, who is very good at working with parents. And I think really the parents just wanted to, first of all, be heard. We want our issues and our challenges to be heard because overall, I think we all realize, as we did during the last shutdown, that our children with disabilities and with special needs really need to be in school, right? I mean, there are a lot of services that cannot be delivered without them being at the school facilities. So I know a lot of the session was really there to answer questions about what happens in the interim, right? What can we do when you're not at school? And like we did last time, we have these interim, what we call interim IEPs, where they're really just meant to cover the period of time where school facilities are shut. But the real drive to provide services is to get them back into school. And I think that's really the sentiment of our parents. I think the concern is we're losing time, our kids are not in school, and because they're not at school, you're not delivering services at home, right? So, it's imperative that we prioritize our special education students to return when it's safe to do so. So that's something we need to factor into our reopening plans, depending on what the governor is comfortable with. So as I mentioned before, we were thinking about cohorts as a way of returning. If a full reopening isn't possible, let us proceed in cohorts so we can limit the amount of students that are on campus at any given day. Like we did with face-to-face earlier this year, during the last school year, we prioritized special education students so they could come in, multiple days, even without, being with their particular cohort. So I'm envisioning that, we're going to have to give them that same level of priority, no matter how we reopen, because the services that many of our kids are required to receive can't be delivered to them when they're, at home.
What about you mentioned in your virtual input session 2 weeks ago about meeting with the governor, talking and the lieutenant governor about working on a reopening strategy. Have you had any meetings with?
So I've had a couple of conversations with the governor, and like I said, the issue right now, and I just really emphasize that whatever's happening on the island, my priority and my job is to get schools back open. I mean, that's really what I need. And I think it's essential for the whole island's recovery that kids are able to go to school safely and that parents are able to work, right? As part of, trying to keep other businesses open and so forth. So at least in our conversations, she is in full agreement with me. I think they've expressed, both she and the lieutenant governor, the debate, the internal debate and discussion that occurred about closing schools prior to her making the decision. And at that point, like I told you before, public health had been going out with us to visit schools. They had reached a certain comfort level at that point, and really were encouraging us to stay open before we got to the point where this community spread had gotten out of hand. So I appreciated that that recognition and acknowledgement and her commitment to prioritize the reopening of schools, but we're not there yet. So while we are trying to weather this new wave in cases, and as we're trying to just get this temporary online switch over fully implemented, what we're trying to work out internally that we want to present to the governor is a series of options that could be considered. So full reopening is our priority. Go back 5 days. Let us know what safety mitigation things need to be addressed or improved to allow that. But if full reopening is not possible, looking at cohorts and determining how those cohorts should be set up. So, I think in a normal situation, cohorts are, you have half the school comes on day one, half the school comes on day two, and they just simply rotate, throughout the week. But I think there has been some internal discussion about, well, does this apply to elementary or secondary, right? Because we know that the secondary students have the opportunity to get vaccinated. So, I think the questions are, should we be looking at that population differently versus the elementary students who still don't have that opportunity? So that's really going to take some public health, guidance and expertise, whether that matters for us to, in terms of our reopening plans. So I think last school year, when we went to cohorts, we did it for everybody. But I know that now, because of the vaccination angle, there is going to continue to be concern about, while we understand the older students going back, and if they're vaccinated, even better. But for the younger students, what's the right answer for our elementary school students? So that's something we still have to debate and kind of work with public health on.
I'm sorry, are you looking at revisiting mandatory vaccinations? Is that what?
Well, we don't have mandatory vaccination for the kids, so that's really a matter of encouraging the students. And we do have an upcoming on the 18th, we have another vaccination clinic to facilitate those opportunities. With the employees, what we're doing is, again, we are covered by the executive order. Mm-hmm. So right now, we've just informed the employees that it is mandatory that you do one of two things. You either choose to be vaccinated, or if you choose not to be vaccinated, submit to weekly testing as a condition of employment. Mm-hmm. So that's really the information that we put out there. We haven't really figured out and determined whether disciplinary consequences ought to be, included in that strategy. We have a lot of our employees who are already fully vaccinated, so that's a good thing to have 70 to 80% of your employees already compliant. So right now, we'd like everybody else to choose, what option is best for them. And those options, of course, are either vaccinate or, submit to weekly testing so that we can have a way of screening for COVID-19, on a regular basis.
Right. I get the mandatory vaccination / testing for employees, but I was just wondering if it's back on the table about the possibility of mandating, eligible children to be vaccinated before they return to school.
Well, well, I think I would say right now there's not been a discussion, nor have I put it on my priority list to mandate vaccines for children. So that's I think that's a complicated matter I think the issue of when is it appropriate to override parental consent, that has to be really researched and thought through. But again, that's a mandate. I mean, that's a mandate where it covers everybody. But you're absolutely right that there have been some students that are saying, hey, why don't we just set up online and face-to-face so that if you're vaccinated, you go face-to-face, you can be in the face-to-face cohort, and if you're not vaccinated, you're in the online, And I said, well, we'd have to look at that type of option, but that would be something where it's not really a mandate, but you would not be, that would set something up where you would not be eligible for one mode of learning if you're not vaccinated. So those ideas have come forth, and in fact, there's a couple of some student input where you've heard that. Why don't we just allow the vaccinated to go face-to-face, unvaccinated stay online, and same for activities, right? If you want to participate in sports, maybe make that a required, vaccination, to participate in sports versus unvaccinated students. So again, that's another tough question. It's something that the governor is dealing with. With the new requirements for restaurants and so forth. Mm-hmm. But it definitely has come up in our discussions.
Okay, so not a mandate, but if you want to come face to face, then you'll have to be vaccinated.
Yeah, and again, that's just some idea that's been brainstormed and people I've heard from students. So it's an interesting concept because it mirrors, what's happening out in the community right now that we're kind of watching and looking at how the restaurants are dealing with that requirement where you can't dine in unless you're fully vaccinated. Well, this would be a similar structure if that happened at the school level.
Okay, and I guess just to wrap things up, your nurses, they're well, let me just ask about the nurses.
Yeah. So I heard no schools, not really a need for nurses, right? So what's going on with the GDOE nurses?
Well, the nurses actually were still doing, taking care of their responsibilities, and part of the responsibilities that we were hoping for them to accomplish were, we just finished a couple of weeks, so all the students have been updating their health information, and the parents have been submitting their forms because we're trying to get updated information on students who have already been vaccinated, right? So there was some updating of records that we needed to take place. Both for employees and for students. So, but again, the students aren't on campus. And as of today, as of coming back from Labor Day, the contact tracing has diminished, significantly because kids who are now being identified as positive were not, on campus, have not been on campus for the period of time that would have required contact tracing. So with that in mind, we did get a directive from the governor under her public health emergency powers, seeking the assistance of nurses to support public health. And so we had a meeting yesterday with the public health leadership and all of our nurses to kind of go over the intent of the support, where that support would be needed, and so forth. So it sounds like, first of all, that this is in line with the intent to get schools reopened as soon as it's safely possible. The understanding from the governor is that the nurses need to be back in the schools when schools are ready to reopen. So this is intended to be a short-term assignment. Second of all, they anticipate, my understanding is the administration anticipates additional nursing support from FEMA to come in and be able to support the operations of the hospital and other places. I believe the National Guard is assisting in that effort as well. So I think at the end of the day, our nurses are most likely going to be helping in the public health activities to do testing, to do vaccinations at the various sites on island.
Nice.
And because of the numbers of people we get in both lines, I think that support again is intended to kind of help go through this wave of testing and vaccination due to the surge. So that was where we left it. I think a couple of our nurses are working more closely with public health to determine the specific assignments and schedules and so forth. But they report officially today to public health.
Wow. John, just going back to the students with special needs, are you guys hiring one-to-ones?
Yes. One-to-ones are still being hired. Are still being required, even if we're online. So if they are receiving online education, their one-to-one aides are also required to participate in those sessions. Again, but it's not physical. It's not a physical, one-to-one. The one-to-one's not going to come to your home to provide that support. And again, parents have asked, is that possible? And really, that presents a whole other set of complications and issues for employees to be out at someone's private residence. So at this point, that we are hiring to ensure that those students who require one-to-one support do have them available while they're online, but definitely when they return to campus, that those positions are filled. So that's ongoing. We are actually we had to switch over our planning, but we're trying to finalize plans for a virtual job fair for any of the remaining vacancies, not just with one-to-one aid positions, but across the department, trying to set up a virtual job fair to be able to recruit and fill for some of our other positions. Especially with PUA ending, we're hoping that we get good candidates eager to work. I have to tell you, we have a couple of positions several positions we've opened over the summer, and we just, the applicant pool has been very thin, and even those who apply aren't meeting some of the basic, qualification requirements. So that's been surprising because we rarely run into that situation. But we're hoping that, with PUA ending and a job fair coming shortly after, we will get a better pool of applicants who can support the GDOE and its mission.
So how many one-to-ones do you have to hire?
There were about, I don't know how many we have right now because we were in the process of pushing through about 100 positions earlier this school year. So that was really intended to make sure that we addressed the outstanding vacancies. But even after we select them, they have to go through the process of the drug testing and clearance. So I'd have to get an update of how many remain.
So John,
to be filled.
You're right. Good point. PUA is ending. So did you want to? And it sounds like you need a significant number of one-to-one aides. So did you want to speak to people out there? Like, what does it take? What kind of person you're looking for? What are the base qualifications?
Well, I think if you're interested in an opportunity with GDOE, if you're able to go to our either come down to the headquarters and look at what the available openings are, at our human resources division, or you can go on our website under our human resources page just to see what kind of openings are still available. But we have a wide range of openings. I know that we're talking about one-to-one aides for our kids with special education, in our special education program, all the way to some of the key central office positions. Like we're still recruiting for a facilities and maintenance manager to run the division. So everywhere in between the different ranges, we're likely to have opportunities. We just need people who are willing to work and support our kids, and support our schools. And again, I think there's going to be something for everyone along that range. So go to our website, come down to our TZN headquarters, and we're hopefully putting the final touches, and we'll make an announcement of a virtual job fair so that we can also do a virtual recruitment and set an interviews for applicants who are interested in joining the department. So when we get that nailed down, Chris, we'll definitely let you guys know. Hopefully put the word out there so people can also use that as an opportunity to seek employment.
Thank you so much, John. Is there anything in closing you wanted to add? Because I think you covered a lot.
No, I think it's, again, we are where we are because of our public health situation once again. And I think a lot of people are out there are as disappointed as I am that we're here. But at the same time, we've got to plot our way to reopening. We know that's the right solution. Yeah. So we can't hang our heads right now.
Yeah.
We've got to work together, get the community, get the community in a better situation, and then, try to get schools reopened as soon as we can do so safely. Because I think at the end of the day, I would say every parent probably had to deal with the same thing I did. There's the kids coming home, learning that schools are not going to be open the following week. And the look of disappointment ought to be enough to drive us all to get our kids back into school.
That being said, John, I'm not sure if I missed it when you were talking with Bree, right? So when you talk about the different modes of learning when we do, God, please, when we do get back to face-to-face, is the online going to be still stood up as an option so that we don't see this kind of lag when we do jump between whatever our status is with the virus?
Right. So there still will be an online component. And fortunately, we'll have already gone through the fire drill of what it takes to go back and forth.
Yeah.
So everything helps us be prepared for the next the next unexpected turn. So definitely online will still be a component, not just for those who signed up for online classes to begin with, but also as a contingency for those should we go into this situation again after reopening, hopefully in the near future. So that'll remain. But again, I think for all of us who've debated online versus face-to-face, I think if you were at the schools for the first couple of weeks of the school year, talking to students, talking to teachers, I think we all realize that this is where we need to be. We need to be able to go safely back into school. Kids need to be with each other, need to be with their teachers. That the education is going to be much more I think much more effective being able to interact directly than through a screen. So that's where we need to be, and we just got to work our way towards that.
Yeah, John. So as a parent because one of my kids is online, and he registered for online this year, and then my two young guns are face to face, and I get what you're saying about online. I think for some kids it kind of works though, and for my boy who is online, because he's kind of advanced, it's a good way for him to just be able to handle the workload, and he gets it right. It's good. But my younger two, they really loved being back in face to face, and I got to tell you, my boy Chase, is so bummed out because he just got a girlfriend, John.
Uh-oh.
He just got a girlfriend that he was so excited to, and we're all teasing him about his crush.
Well, you know, well, it goes both ways. I was very happy that my daughter was online in her junior year.
I get it. Right on, John. Thanks, man.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Okay.
And congratulations to Chase.
Yeah. Oh, he's a little.
Well done.
Yep.
I wanna say, because I'm in striking distance from you, he gets that from the dad.
Oh, come on now. It's 9/10 Wednesday, September 8th. We're gonna take a break.